Hello, and welcome to another online example for the project requirements. This is for the service environment. Once again, this is just an example so that you can see how a particular team tried to work with this challenge. It's not intended as a template, and it certainly has some problems that mean you shouldn't really try to copy it, but you can see from what they've done well and from where they're struggling some ideas that may help you to do well and also may help you to avoid problems. Here's the client statement that they were working with. You've seen it before if you've watched some of the other videos. If not, you can click pause and read it. And here is what their service environment looks like. You don't have to try to read it on one slide because I'm going to go through part by part. Here is the section introduction for 4.0, and as you know, it's important to have introductions for every section so that you can textualize the information that is coming ahead of it. This team is really trying to do a good job. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. So let's take a closer look. Here we've got the location of the client's house, and that's very specific to the project. Now, of course, you'll notice it doesn't sound like a real address 12345. That's because I have actually anonymized it for this video. So this is specific and pretty good, but the second sentence is much weaker. It's generic and it could be used for any design. One thing you might ask yourself is how might they have tailored this so that it followed the previous sentence in a more meaningful way? Here's the physical environment. This is a subsection, and again, they don't go from one heading to a subheading without a little bit of information. This information is, again, a good attempt to write a good introduction. The first sentence is a bit generic, but at least they've put it in their own words. The second sentence is much more specific to the design. Here is the property itself. I don't really have very much to say about it. They've given all of the information that they possibly can to describe the space that they're working with. Here's the weather and climate. This section, some of it they've done fairly well and some of it not so well. So this first part is fairly informative. We get the average highs and lows, which is the kind of thing you're looking to give. This is a little less informative. I don't know why we need to know about air quality. I'm not really sure about that. Sun exposure we do need to know about that because one of the secondary functions is to block the sun at certain times of day. However, these two bullet points seem very odd in the middle of some other pretty good work. They're not informative at all. Here is the living things. So this section, I think, is a lot harder to write. And I think that the reason that the student was having so much trouble is that they were trying to do something difficult and they didn't quite know how to write it. So I think what they're trying to do is show the relationship between other living things and the robin in a way that might be relevant to this design, but they don't actually connect it. So that first sentence has this bizarre word in it, depict. The region's wildlife, flora, and fauna depict the habitat of the robin. And I think this is where they're trying to make that connection, that the living things that they're about to describe are relevant to the life of the bird. But they use this word depict, and that's a poor choice. It's far too figurative. It's too ambiguous. So depict is also anthropomorphic. Humans or animals with consciousness can depict, which means to create an image of, either in words or visually. But wildlife, flora, and fauna are not able to depict things, so the sentence doesn't mean anything on a literal level. The next sentence is not so bad, but what do they mean by distinctly? What is the difference between a rural township and a distinctly rural township? This is a waste of words. It doesn't really mean anything. And so you have to avoid things like that. This is their virtual environment, and I think it's pretty good. It has a couple of points in it and tells us some things, but I'm going to end with an Alex question. Given what you know about this project, what would be the relevance of these 4 points? Why would these aspects of the virtual environment impact on the design? If you know, then send me an email with Alex Online Virtual Environment in the header, and I'll let you know if you've got a good idea and a PD point.